In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a portal on your machine, an encrypted SSH portal. In technical terms, this is called local port forwarding. It works like a sci-fi portal. Data enters a port on your machine, disappears into some other dimension, like an encrypted tunnel perhaps, and then reappears somewhere else entirely. So let me show you what local port forwarding is, when to use it, how to set it up, and I'll show you some live examples too. First, let's start with this. How does local port forwarding actually work? Data goes into the local port of your machine and then comes out on the next machine. Pretty complicated stuff, right? The only caveat is that you can't just throw data at the remote machine. You have to give it a port to enter on the remote host, or else the data will just be dropped as invalid. That being said, you tell it which port to enter on your local machine and which port to travel to on the remote machine when you type out the setup command. Let me show you that right now. Here's the setup command, SSH-L for local port forwarding, and then we have to choose the local port that we will use to forward. So let's go 5445 in this case, then we'll do a colon. Then we need to give it the name of the remote host that we will be forwarding to. So in this case, it's going to be host B, and then we'll put another colon, and then which port do we want to hit on host B? Where is the other end of that portal? In this case, we're going to do port 80. And then we need to connect via SSH like regular, so we'll go vero at host-b. And then it's asking for my passphrase for the private key. And there we're connected. We have set up local port forwarding. So again, it's SSH-L for local port forwarding. Then we give it the local port we want to listen on. Then we want to give it the host name we want to send the data to, and then we want to give it the port number on the remote host that we want to send it to. And then we connect via SSH like normal, and then we'll get this as a result. We'll get our remote host prompt. So that's it. That's really all it takes to set it up. So what I will do is I will paste this in the description of the video so you guys can have it as a reference. So you put the local port forward, then a colon, then the destination host name, then another colon, then the destination port that you want it to hit. Now that you've seen how to set it up, when does this become useful? What are some use cases? Well, let me show you two of them. Example 1, accessing an internal web application. This is when a web server is only available to users logged directly into the machine that is hosting it. You cannot get to the web pages from outside the server. However, in this case, there is port 22 open, an SSH server that's accessible from the outside. So in this case, we set up local port forwarding and tell SSH, hey, when data enters this port on my machine, send it securely through the SSH tunnel to the internal web server. And just like that, it'll let us in. So I am going to log into my target machine here, and then let's set up the web server. I have an index.html in here. Let me clear this screen. And then we'll do Python 3. We'll set up a quick web server here. Module http.server, and we'll serve it up on port 80. And then let's do this --bind 127.0.0.1 because we want it to only listen internally. We don't want it to listen for any traffic outside of this server. So we're binding it to the local loopback address. Now we'll hit enter, and it'll say serving HTTP on 127.0.0.1 port 80. So that's our target machine. So we'll try connecting with the web browser, http://host-b. Nothing. Can't connect. How about if we specify port 80? Nope, Still can't connect. Okay, so we have our local port forward set up. What if we do this? Let's go HTTP // localhost, which is our machine, and :5445. So the port we set up local port forwarding for. And look at that, it works. I am host B. This page is being served from Cali. Very nice. Okay, let's move on to our second example. Second example, accessing a netcat listener behind a firewall. In this example, we have a netcat listener on the target computer waiting for an incoming connection. The problem is it's behind a firewall. But again, luckily SSH port 22 is open. So we'll do the same thing again. We'll set up local port forwarding on our machine so that any traffic we send to a local port, meaning a port on our machine, is securely tunneled over SSH port 22 to the netcat listener on the remote machine. Let's set up our netcat listener here. We'll go netcat nc ldnp port 5555. You can see there it says listening on port 5555. Now we'll go over here. Let's try to get to that netcat listener. Let's say nc host-c 5555. We'll hit enter. Let's check the host. It's not reaching it. And it's just sitting here hanging. And it's not reaching it. So let's stop this. Now let's set up our local port forward, our portal, on our attack machine. We'll go, well, let's clear a screen. Then we'll go SSH-L for local port forward. Let's make it local port 9000 : host-c for the remote host. And it's the netcat listener on host C is 5555. So we'll send it to that remote host. Then we'll connect via SSH like normal. Host-c. It's asking for the passphrase for the private key. So we'll give it that. And we're connected there. Let's open a new tab. Zoom in so you guys can see. Now let's reach out with netcat again. And this time we'll type localhost because we want to shoot the netcat listener to our local host on port 9000, which is the local port listening. We'll hit enter. Now it looks like it's hanging again, but it's not actually hanging. So let's do this. There we go. Connection received. Now if we go back here and we type hello world, you can see it popped up here. Hello world, right on our netcat listener. So it works. Now keep in mind, we did not break the firewall. We did not exploit anything. We simply used an allowed service, which in this case SSH, with local port forwarding, to securely reach something that the firewall was blocking. Now you're armed with some good information on local port forwarding. We talked about what it is, when to use it, how to set it up, and we went over some live examples. Now let me take a minute to riff on something. Imposter syndrome. It's really bad in this industry. Now let me tell you, I've been doing this for 15 years and I still have it. Okay, so it's always going to be around. Now, I've been doing this for 15 years, but my imposter syndrome is a lot less than it used to be, so it's not nearly as bad. So there is hope. And I like to say the difference between the people who have been doing this for a long time, the veterans, and the people who are new to the industry, is that the veterans have just had imposter syndrome a lot longer. So what I'm saying is don't worry about it. We all have it. And if somebody says that they don't have it, they're lying to you. They actually do. We all do. It's perfectly normal and it's perfectly okay. So for myself, the one way that the one thing I've done that has been really helpful in cutting down the intensity of imposter syndrome has been working in my home lab. So that's kind of why I make these videos and walk people through these things, because working in your home lab gives you the confidence that you're craving. So I make these videos, go through them, follow along with them, find other people to follow on YouTube, go through their videos, go through their labs, build your own home lab. I know the idea of a home lab to a lot of us, especially when we already work in the industry, is really rough because, we spend all day at work, we come home, we're ready to just flop on the couch and just decompress. I like to say our mana pool is all used up, to borrow from a MMO term. But it really makes a difference. It really makes a huge difference. Even like an hour a day. If you just do an hour a day, you'll notice an incredible difference in your confidence. Your confidence levels will go way up. And also, in the meantime, while you're building your skill set, take it easy on yourself. Go a little bit easy on yourself. You're not going to learn all this stuff overnight. There's too much to learn. Like I said, work in your own home lab, even if it's just an hour a day or whatever, or even half hour or whatever it takes, and build your skill set from there. I read a really good book one time called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And the author, I think his name was Cal something. But the author said he mentioned what he called sharpening the saw. And so what that is just honing your skill set. So if you take a little bit of time every day to hone your skill set, a year will go by, 6 months will go by, 9 months will go by, and you'll be a lot better than you anticipated you ever could be. But it's that incremental skill set building that will make the big difference. Anyway, that's all the thoughts I had for now. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next one.